Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Sean Atwood channel. I'm Ron Swanson. We are here for Awaken with Beverly Rhodes with our wonderful guest, Zanele. And yeah, I am running on about 8% of my brain capacity today. My wonderful star seed, ultra child, whatever we want to call her, she's a freaking terrorist, okay, is what she is, all right? She's a month old. And she has developed this game where she wants to look you straight in the eye and then just scream in your face, right? Brilliant, mate. It's great. It's brilliant. It's great. So, yeah. But luckily, I've been given a little graceful bit of time to sleep as Dan is away seeing her mum. Her auntie's coming to visit, and it's going to be a good night's sleep for me. So that is how I'm doing. Beverly, how are you?
I'm fine. We seem to have some feedback.
We've got some feedback.
I'm fine. We've got feedback.
What do you mean we've got feedback?
Still?
I don't know what you mean by. Oh, are you talking from a technical point of view? We've got feedback. Yeah. Okay, so when you say feedback, what are you hearing? Because I can't hear anything.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, it's on a loop. Your intro is on a loop.
Oh, my intro. The intro's on a loop.
Yeah, I'm just gonna zap it.
Okay, hang on a minute. I think
it's just a loop.
I don't know. I think I'm like, if you're still hearing that, Bev, drop out and then come back in again because it might just. Can the side chat let us know? Yeah, you can't see Ron. Ron's hiding down here in his tiny square, and he's knackered. So. Can you guys just confirm that none of you can hear the intro music still playing? Just
on my side, no.
No, it'll have just been a Bev glitch, I think. Well, listen, Zanele, thank you so much for coming and joining us. Beverly will be back in just a moment. But I'm very excited to get to know you and hear about your new book. But before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to the community, if you will. Yeah, if you could.
Okay, so I am Zanele Luvuno. I am from South Africa. I am I'm 47, Ron, and I'm feeling it.
Right. Yeah.
47 and feeling it, the bones creak and all that other good stuff. So just a little bit about myself, I think, quite specific to this particular show. I think I wanted to talk very much around careers. It is such what we do with our lives, our purpose, our calling, our passion, our gifts is such an important aspect of this life and this experience that we have, and not enough attention is given to it in the correct way. So a lot of it is very much around, if you're unhappy, change your job. You just go and you go out of one environment into another, and there isn't enough emphasis put on shifting. So change is like the big word that all the corporates love. They all love this change management vibe. And I really think shift is the big thing, and shift is vertical evolution, change is horizontal evolution. And as a human being and as a soul, we're all here for vertical evolution. And when you're just focused on the sort of horizontal evolution stuff, you can find yourself changing out of one thing into another, one bad choice after another, and you can get so frustrated about your life and your circumstances. And the shift aspect for me is really all about all the internal stuff and all the internal work that we really all should be working on, understanding who you are, your authenticity, owning it, claiming it, showing up as that. And I started out in this field probably more technically over my career, so sort of an executive search and in that particular space. And over the years, as my own spiritual journey evolved, I have studied metaphysics to an advanced stage. I'm a Reiki master. There's a bunch of things that I've kind of done. My view and how I approach careers and how I approach that particular aspect of my life has changed so much for me. And I think for me, it was about, how do I take all this information and this knowledge and these tools that I've had and I've experienced and developed, and kind of worked through myself over the last decade of my own life, and with the people that I coach, how can I make them more accessible to everybody else? And hence I decided to write the book, because the truth is most of my clients are corporate. Most of the people that can afford to come to somebody like me would be somebody who's sponsored by a corporate. But we're so confused about our lives right now. Everything is changing. All the structures, right, that like firmly held us in place and told us what to do are all just disappearing. If you look at America, pulled out of the World Health Organization, this banking's changing. It's you had your money in your bank where you can see it. Now it's all digitized. All the structures and this whole idea of a society where there's an authority that tells you what to do and the decisions to make and how to live, it's all crumbling, and people don't know what to hold on to. And people, don't know who and what to hold on to. And I think for a changed society and for a changed a world that we now live in, we need new types of coaches, to help us, new types of tools to help us to be able to navigate it. And the truth is, we live in a society where we have to make a living. We have to do something. We need some kind of purpose. You do need to wake up and do something with your life. And so it is an important part of our daily existence as a human being. I mean, I've tried not working and doing nothing. I'm convinced I'd be an alcoholic within 3 months if I did nothing.
Yeah.
You need purpose. And so that's really just a little bit around, my passion, really, to say, yes, there's a lot of business schools and you can go to business school, and there's a lot of technical training, and there's all this stuff that's going around about how to like make the outside look really amazing. And nobody is doing anything about the shift that needs to take place within you as a person. And just very interestingly, I was reading that the World Economic Forum says that from this year to about 2030, half the skills we have are going to be useless, and we're going to need new skills. And they were talking about things like compassion and communication and, all like a whole bunch of like really soft skills, right? Nobody has spent any time getting to know themselves to even be able to go out into the world and show up like that. So I think it's also that. It's like, how do we as a collective find our place and thrive in this new world, right, that we all trying to navigate? That's my story.
Simple as that. Simple as that. No, it sounds really, really fascinating. And Bev, you're back. Is everything okay? You're in now?
Yeah, I've sorted it out. I worked out what it was, and then I just rebooted the whole thing, and it's fine.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. So, obviously, Zanele was introducing herself, taking us through her skill sets. Can you sort of tell us? I'll hand it over to you, Bev. Is really what I'm saying. Sorry, my brain is failing me today. But I'll hand it back over to you because. Yeah, I'm excited to hear more and delve more into this.
Well, I agree with what Zanele is saying, which is why we've been collaborating. And there's I think the bottom line here is that all beings at the moment have agreed to come and have a human experience. So it's unusual for us to now decide that we're going to completely change and do something completely different. But because the energies are changing and people are awakening and they're waking up to the fact that, yes, they will need to have a different skill set. Yes, they will have to start looking within themselves so that they can lead their best lives. So that's where, all the chaos happens before transformation. Then transformation happens, and then this entire metamorphosis happens. So I think that part of what Zanele is doing and part of what I'm doing on the spiritual side, between the two of us, we have a really good opportunity to help people vibrate better, but also to understand themselves better. And I think that's what Zanele's done with the whole metamorphosis side of it, and particularly writing writing your new book as well, because you've just literally just finished a brand new
Yeah.
book, and we're very excited to be able to show this on this channel for the first time. It's an exclusive. It hasn't been out there at all. No one else has seen it. This is for us. So thank you very much. And if you can tell us a little bit about how you came to the book and what it is that you're dealing with, because in a way you're kind of marrying the career, getting yourself into a better space, a bit of the coaching, a bit of all these amazing things, as well as the spiritual aspect.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
when you were talking about people being in the wrong careers, if you were to retire now, you know, you'd probably lose your mind. I kind of feel the same, because when people talk about, oh, you're going to get to retire and focus on your passions, all I've done is focus on my passions for 25 years, since I was like 20, right? It's just been almost to a narcissistic level of self-indulgence when it comes to career paths, and knowing that, you know, the very cheesy Instagram post of, oh, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. But the problem is you often don't know when to clock off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You find that when you're consumed by passion and you're living your passion, it can become very all-consuming. So my current metamorphosis, if you will, is trying to learn to have the balance of work time and not work time, because you know, when you're self-employed and you work in your house, it's hard. Yeah, of course, Zanele. It's
Sorry
hard.
to
It's okay, don't worry. It's hard to disconnect from when it begins, when it ends, if that makes sense. I'm sure you're the same, Beverly. I'm sure you feel
Oh,
the same.
absolutely. It's difficult. And also you always tapped into the superconscious and the conscious mind and the hive mind of everything that's going on around you. So it is a different time. And that's what we're moving in and moving towards right now. But, you know, channeling things and working through stuff differently is what is a new skill set. So we're going to have to look at it, learn it, understand it, and decide that we are going to start listening to our higher selves, listen to the ray of intention, which is above us here, and in the energy and frequencies above us. Start understanding, what were we actually sent here for? What did we need to do? What is our soul path? What is the soul plan? What contracts do we have at a soul level with people that are around us? And what are the choices we can make? So if you are deciding that you want to be with your soulmate and you want to have a family and you want to have this type of life, then start creating that. Allow that to come out, because there are many things now that those contracts, you don't have to stay in those contracts. You can decide at a soul level, that's it. I'm cutting that soul contract. I don't acknowledge or even honor that soul contract with that individual. Cut it, seal it, put it up into the Akashic records.
Yeah, and Zanele's back. See, again, I feel like I'm very much at the school of Beverly Rhodes every week, right? And when we're talking about things that people wouldn't, as far from the mystic realm as possible, the day job, right? And how much of an impact what we do with our time can have on who we are. And I guess it's really about exploring what makes you happy.
Exactly.
But I think when people hear that, I think that sentiment's been so overused that when people hear it, they often just go, sure, you know. But Zanele, talk a little bit about just the importance of walking in a path that is aligned with who you really are.
So I think you're absolutely correct. I think there's been so much sort of greeting card slogans like slash, you know, thrown about around this kind of thing that people actually feel like it's something that's completely unattainable. And I want to say, and I want to offer that, you know, I had to walk the path myself, right, in order to be able to know that it can be done. And I think when you're functioning in your truth, right, when you are walking in your truth, when you are clear who you are, when you are walking in your authenticity as a person, then it almost, the path almost unfolds naturally, right? Because you are in flow with the universe. the right people come into your life, the right opportunities come into your life, you know how to leverage them. You know, help is all around you. Everything is flowing, everything is streaming. And so we're born into a world, though, that really teaches us to only believe what we see. So it's very difficult for people to grasp that if I'm functioning in my truth, if I understand authentically who I am, right, and am brave enough to step out into the world like that and take up space like that. And I'm not talking authenticity like go be a narcissist and kind of be like, well, this is who I am, suck it up. I'm talking about like knowing who you are at a soul level, right? And being in an empowered state and how you walk in the world, right? Everything else will then flow from there. So if you're waking up every day and you have a moral issue with alcohol, but you're working for an organization that makes alcohol every day, it's in direct conflict with authentically who you are, your values, etc., etc. No matter how big the paycheck is, ultimately you're going to be unhappy. And society has told us, though, that paycheck matters, right? That title matters, that, you know, all those trappings, right? They've told us that this is how you, this is how the universe decides your worth and your value, right? It's my title, it's my paycheck, it's my, you know, whatever all of this stuff is. And I'd like to offer that once you authentically know who you are and you go on a journey to find out who you authentically are, it is so easy to walk in your truth. And when you're walking in your truth, what you're here for, what you're meant to be doing, what your gifts are, because we all have special gifts that we are given. We come into this world and we have so much that we can share, ways that we can be of service to other people, ways that, I mean, this is a community here right now. There's so many people going through things that amongst ourselves we'd be able to fix and solve each other's lives if we all could tell our stories, right? And so I think walking in your truth is so incredibly important, not just for yourself, right? But it becomes important for purpose and kind of what you put out into society. And I always say the success part of your career comes, it's like an inevitable outcome. If you're walking in truth and walking in purpose, then the success stuff comes, you know, all the money and the trappings and all the good stuff comes. I've found that whenever I've done incredibly well in my career, and I've been fortunate, I'm in the career space, it's been a focus of mine. I've been fortunate in my career, I must say, but I'll tell you that when I have done things that were not in my truth, when I veered off my path, I got some from the universe and they were not pretty. They just weren't pretty. So now I can categorically say, you know, walk in your truth, know who you are, do the work, discover who your authentic nature, discover your personal gifts, find a way to leverage them, you know, leverage the people around you, put it out into the world, and you actually really can have an amazing life. And let's not forget, I've been interviewing and dealing with candidates and people, because we have a talent business, for over 2 decades. You know, I know what happens in the life of somebody's full career journey, from the time they graduate to the time they become a CEO of a listed company and they're now my client and no longer a candidate. So I have all of that data as well. So it's not just my story and kind of ideas that I have in my mind. It's also data from thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people I've interviewed, spoken to. It's data points from my client base is listed organizations, it's listed companies. I know what they're looking for. And they're all moving towards that X factor. You know, the age of information is all about incredible people, smart people that are going to come up with products and solutions that are going to change the world, right? And you can only really do that if you know what your special gift is. You can only know what your special gift is if you are in touch with yourself from an authentic place. You know who you are. You've spent the time. You know what your special gift is. You know what it is that you can put out into the world. And those are the people that are changing the world. So I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yes, of course you did. Of course you did. Absolutely lovely. We've got also, I just wanted to shout out to Michelle. She's given us a nice super chat here. Thank you so much, Michelle, and lovely to see you earlier today. So I think also we're looking at some of the areas that you've added into your lovely book. So if it's all right with you, we'll share about your book, and then if you can tell us a little bit about why did you decide to read and put through all this amazing data and all the stories and everything that you've been doing, elevating your career to beyond limits. So tell us a little bit about your new book, please.
So I think that we live in a society that puts so many limitations on us, right? Mm-hmm. We're told there's glass ceilings. We're told that you have to study this and have to study that in order to be able to do and achieve anything in life. Our whole life really is in a cage of sorts, right? And this cage of limitations, and a lot of it is society and what society says we can and can't do and is attainable and is not attainable. And a lot of it is the mental cage we build around ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So as a function of kind of your society, your internal monologue, you form a view and a picture of what your limitations are. And so a lot of us, especially in this particular space of our lives, tend to come into the space with a lot of limitations. A lot of us tend to be on autopilot, right, around our careers and around what we do. So it's like your job is this thing that you go to, and then like in the evening you seek like solace and enjoyment and, like a way to get away from it all. So like now you're on YouTube and you're watching Bev, there's nothing wrong with that, but like you're running or you're doing it it's like, oh no, I want to forget about my life. And it's not like all like a one process of your life, like another enjoyable piece of your life after you've had a full day of an enjoyable piece, and so I wanted, and I've been working with people a lot since lockdown. I think everybody that I speak to wants different for their life and their career. So people used to be very career orientated in terms of how much money can I get? I want to get to the top. And I think what lockdown did for a lot of people was it made us all review our priorities. What matters to me? What do I want to spend my time doing? A lot of us got to spend a lot of time at home. We got to know family, friends, things we enjoyed doing, hobbies. Some people started baking or whatever it was. And so interestingly, when people came back, it was no longer like, oh yeah, I'll automatically take that job, the money's good, right? It was like, well, look, these are my personal circumstances. I want to be able to be at home however many days a week because we have kids and I want to be able to be home for my kids. Or, there was just a huge shift in how people really, what they were looking for and how they looked at their careers. And I had to take some of that forward to the clients to say, well, that's not going to be enough anymore. They also, the candidate wants a requirement of this and there's a requirement of that. And likewise on the coaching stuff as well. And so I think what then happened is that there was like a huge flux in this particular space. And in order to be able to deal with it, if you're working for a great corporate company and you're on your way up the ladder, they'll invest the money in you to spend time with somebody like me to help you work out your life, right? Mm-hmm. But there were a lot of people that were coming to me, inboxing me, DMing me, needing help. I'd go on the radio and I'd speak about one or two things, or I'd be featured in a newspaper or magazine and I'd speak about one or two things, and I would just be flooded with people having so many questions around how they're meant to navigate this space. So what I decided to do was to take the knowledge I have and to create a journal, right, that has got journal prompts that you can do in your own time. because people are busy. So it's not that if I decide to do a webinars, for instance, if you can't make it, you can't make it. But if you've got like something that you can hold in your hand, you can work through the prompts, you can work through the chapters. It's got exercises in there. It's got tools in there to kind of take you through a process of knowing yourself, understanding what matters to you, working out what your gifts are. How do you put them out into the world? How can you get support? Who should be supporting you? Where are your gaps? All the stuff that a person needs to be looking at. And then once you know what your gifts are and what kind of, what support structures you have and what your gaps are, then to put together a plan, like, well, this is my career plan, this is my action plan. And so I wanted to do something like that. In a way, it was giving back in a way, because I have a corporate clientele base, but it's who, what about the rest of society? What about the people that I share space with, right? Whose organizations can't do that for them. And so it was a way for me to be able to make the knowledge I have and my processes more accessible to everybody else. Obviously time-wise, you anything that requires that you pour into other people obviously is energetically it can deplete. So there's a limitation as to how many people you can see in a day.
Yes.
And for me, if I'm doing anything that requires me energetically 2 people a day, maybe I can push to 3. It's a lot, and so this was a way for me to be able to kind of take the knowledge I have, put it out there, so facilitate a process for anybody looking to say, look, I'm really unhappy about my life. Something's got to change. I've changed all the external stuff. I still don't feel like great when I wake up in the morning. And it was just some ideas. I mean, obviously, I could talk. I've got over 2 decades of experience. I could talk. That's just on the technical side, a decade on the metaphysical side. I could talk forever around different ways you can get to that place. But it was somewhere to start for somebody who's like, I need to pivot. I want to do something different. I want to be a digital nomad. I want to do what I love. And how can I actually go about doing that, and getting to a place in my life where I really am enjoying what I'm doing.
And that's obviously how the book came about. So it sounds like it's a very easy book for everyone to use, and it's something that everyone would be able to use quite easily.
Absolutely. And I mean, and it's quite varied. I've got like, different meditation techniques in there to help you kind of like clear your mind before you start like working on yourself. I've got like technical stuff there around just like assessing skills and gaps, and then tools to say, okay, now I know where my gaps are. What do I do now? So I've really been try to be as holistic as I can, given that it is only a journal at the end of the day, and a lot of it is going to be, prompting you to look inside yourself, because at the end of the day, only you have the answers.
Exactly.
For what your gifts are. I'm not, even if I sit in front of you and I'm coaching you, there's absolutely no way I'm going to look at you and tell you what your gifts are. I may be able to intuit, right? And take you to a process so you get to that place of understanding and acknowledging what your gifts are. But it's something it's a process you've got to take yourself through.
And it's also about, universal free will. Obviously, everyone is fully aware that we are sentient beings. We have our own sovereignty within ourselves, and we can either decide to go down a particular road or not. And I think that's a really good and valid point, because when I see people and they say, well, what's this and what's that, I want to know what this is and what that is. And all I can do is tell them what the energies and frequencies are around them and what are the options, because they'll always be on the left side and on the right side. There's 2 separate types of energies. And I always say, you are you. You know you far better than anyone else does, plus the energies that you bring in from your ancestors on both sides, maternal and paternal. you'll be able to then make the most of what runs within your veins, and also that soul family that you belong to. And you can then make those choices, because whether you like it or not, there's always two choices to everything. And that's where the free will comes in. And I think it's great that it's a journal. Journaling is an extremely easy thing to do. And also it frees up the soul. And you might not be thinking of things, but super consciously and subconsciously, you might be able to put that in the journal and say, oh, I didn't realize it about myself. What have I just written here? And then read it, which is absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely. And that's exactly it, is that that process of writing, right, takes you out of, it takes you into that space that you're talking about, where I may not be conscious of the stuff on a sort of 3D level, but if I'm just flowing and I'm running with a particular process, and the prompts are there to help you through that. I think because sometimes people don't know how to go about thinking about these things, and that's what the prompts are there for. I think definitely second everything you've just said.
Oh, that's lovely. And it's good because journaling, over when I was little, we used to have these little books and we used to write everything, and stickers, used to put stickers in it. And we used to have lots of, in the 60s and 70s, it was a big thing. And then they suddenly just disappeared. And then now recently I noticed my granddaughter, she's 16, she's starting to journal. She's doing all these little, and she does these little pictures and things. So journaling has become a really good, really solid, holistic way of being able to put what you need from yourself, from your higher self, and from the superconscious. And it gives the opportunity for the celestial mind as well as the global consciousness to actually get through to you. It'll give your angels time to speak to you. It'll give your guides time to speak to you. And if you have your ancestors and they're talking to you and they're walking with you, they can also impress a thought on your mind too, and you can put that in the journal. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. It's great because there's a fantastic tool, and it's one of those tools that can travel wherever you go. You can take it along with you in your handbag or in your case or wherever, and just take it out no matter where you are and have a quick scribble, which is wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that was a big part of it for me. Pop it in your bag and do it in your own time, because maybe you can only get, maybe you only have time to get through a particular chapter, and you can go to all the different pieces and you can work on a particular piece. So if you want to work on kind of an audit of where you're at, there's a chapter there. You can just pick that particular piece. I think it works better if you start from the beginning and go all the way to the end, kind of, reflecting on where you are, reflecting on what's brought you to this point, and then deciding what it is that you want out of it, and then starting on your journey. But that's exactly it. I mean, it can take you 2 months to do. It can take you a year to do, depending on how fast you move. And I also think that the nice thing about having a journal and something that you can keep with you is that as you work through stuff, you get an opportunity to integrate what you discover about yourself into your everyday life. So one of the things that I have found, right, is that there's so many tools out there that tell us what we should be doing. It's almost like information overload, right? There's somebody who's doing a YouTube or a social media on a piece on absolutely every kind of tool and every kind of skill, but who's helping people integrate that, right, into their everyday life? So you go on there and then you learn about this and you learn about that, but who's helping me? So now somebody's told me that this is how you manifest. I'm just giving an example, right? You can manifest and have everything that you want, and and you theoretically go and learn it. But then there's a massive integration piece, right? So now I've got the knowledge, but how do I actually bring this knowledge into my life, right? And make and actualize certain things that I want, right, based on this new knowledge that I have. And so I find that is a little bit lacking in our society. I always say to people, when people say, what is your purpose? And I say to them, my purpose is to hold others in safe space while they grow. And the reason is there's that we all need to be held through a process like that, you know. And so the information is there, the tools are there, but you do need a support structure. You do need a system of support, and that's what you know, people like yourself, Bev, you know, that's what you guys are doing, which I think is absolutely fantastic. There's so much knowledge out there. Somebody help us take this knowledge, and how are we meant to live? How are we supposed to apply it? What, you know, and I think there's a huge gap in that space.
Yeah, I agree with you. There is, because that's one of the most common questions I have is, what can you teach me, or what can you give me in today's session or at the end of my mentoring session? Because I do a lot of mentoring sessions as well. People generally come to see me sort of once a month, and we check back on what you've done, which I think is why it's wonderful to have a workbook and you've got that beautiful journal, because it's all written down. You can just go back and have a look at it and say, right, what are we going to absorb into our soul today, which is part of the integration. How are we going to absorb it into our soul today? But more importantly, what is the soul telling us? And that's where we use different techniques in order to find out on the higher self, is this something that resonates with me? Are these particular items that I feel I need? Do I need to have them? Is the soul and the higher self saying, should this be absorbed into my very being and my light of my being? Or is this something that I need to close off, you know, and allow that contract and complete the contract, cut the ties of the contract and send it back up to the Akashic records? And these are all of the things that we start looking at. And we had a lady called Neha that was on the channel, and she came with us a couple of weeks ago. And Neha actually used the muscle testing technique. And I've been saying to everybody, well, why don't you just, you know, muscle test and see whether that's right for you to absorb it into your soul and your being and take it on as a lesson, because not all lessons are for this life. Some lessons have been pulled through from previous lives that you need to either decide to cut the karma, especially if they're like really negative people and you don't get that loving, kind, peaceful, forgiving energy with gratitude. If that's the case, then have a look at, you know, do you really need to have that person in your life or not? And if it's a no, then look at you know, doing a cutting technique. The other aspect that's key too, which you could also, and I know you have a lot of this in your workbook and in your journal, is have a look at, you know, if you were to write a list, and this is a good question, and everyone in the chat could do it and our viewers could do it, please write a list of everyone that you love.
Right.
My question is, after the dog and the cat, are you going to be underneath there, or are you going to put yourself somewhere in the middle, or are you going to be at the top of the list? Half of the people that I speak to about that, they're not even on the list.
But that's society, Bev. This again goes to the limitations of society. I mean, society has almost labeled you as toxic, right? If you say that you love yourself, they will start banding around you know, labels. Oh, she's a narcissist. Oh, she's this. And worse still, if you're a woman. I mean, as women, we've been taught, right, that our job is to basically hold others emotionally, right? That's like your whole job. You go last. You know, if your husband comes back from work and he's in a bad mood, you've got to hold the space for him emotionally because he's had a rough day, you know, and there's nobody telling people that no, actually, that's rubbish. You do need to put yourself first. Explaining the reasons why you need to put yourself first, and saying that, no, I'm not going to hold you emotionally, right? You must be responsible for yourself emotionally. I have a child, I have a husband. They all know you must be responsible for yourself emotionally. I will hold space for you while you're going through something, but I'm not going to take on your emotional stuff. You need to learn how to emotionally regulate and work out how you're going to manage whatever it is that you're feeling at this particular moment. but it's all part of society. Nobody says it's all right and it's allowed, right, to love yourself and care for yourself. When we talk about self-care, people think we're talking about going to the spa and, you know, all those external things. Self-care is putting boundaries in place with people in your life. Self-care is not going to a job that you hate every single day. You know, self-care is being mindful about the people that you keep in your life, the things you do, the processes you engage in, the activity, all of that kind of stuff. It's all self-care. And it goes back to that integration piece. There's like so much information, a lot of it technical. There's all this stuff out there, but there's nobody holding space for people and explaining and helping them integrate, right? All this information that we have in this information age, integrating it into their lives.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, and that's part of the understanding, and that's what this 2025 is all about this year. There will be no secrets. There will be a greater understanding of us as human beings in the human experience. And that's part and parcel of being able to say, I'm grateful for this. And who do I love? Well, actually, I'm going to put myself at the top of the list. And when you can put yourself at the top of the list and not cringe, because I can see some people when they do it, they go, oh my goodness me. You can see they get all scratchy and think, oh, I don't think I should put myself at the top of the list. But actually, when you can say, actually, love me. Yes. Yeah. This person, that person. Because it's natural for a mum and a dad and people with children. Yeah, you'll put your mum, your dad, your children, etc., etc. And then eventually you'll be somewhere down the bottom, you know, the dog and the cat. And then sometimes I will see they'll put their own name at the bottom occasionally. But it would be nice to see that people start moving up the list of people that they love and allow as you say, the self-care and the self-love, because they go hand in hand.
The concept of somebody writing a list like that. I mean, I think I would put myself at the top 3, just of who I love the most. I'd give myself the top 3 places in my list. You know what I mean?
Well, that's good.
You have to have that affirmed self-love for sure.
You do.
When we don't love ourselves, the type of stuff we allow into our lives. You know, Ron, you asked me a question about walking in your truth. When you don't love yourself, you cannot walk in your truth. I don't care.
For sure. I mean, I love myself a lot and I still make terrible decisions. So it's a balance for me. But 100%. I mean, I see a big difference in who I was, you know, my early 40s than my early 20s. It's wild. It's completely wild. You know what I mean? You know, we often hear people say, if I could go back and tell my younger self, don't worry, everything's going to be fine.
Everything's going to be okay.
I mean, I would just take some pictures of Dan back with me and go, look at what you're going to marry. So everything's going to be fine. So
she's so beautiful. She really is. She's absolutely beautiful. She's like a model. So we've gone through quite a few areas, and I think that some of the emotions of, you know, the change. We'll have a look at, I don't know whether you have found, you know, Zanele with your clientele, they are getting caught up in lots of questions and emotions at the moment. And what I'm saying to my clients, and I'm sure you share the similar view, is that allow emotions to allow them to run their course, because that's part of this energetic vibration that we're in at the moment. As we start to awaken, we are allowed to have, as people have been saying in the chat, the self-worth, the self-courage, and looking after ourselves and looking at things very differently. And that seems to be a very different energy this year. I noticed it changing from 2023 to now. People are finding themselves, they're finding their truth, and they're realizing, well, actually, I can step back a bit and I can allow myself to do some universal ordering, you know, say to source, you know, this is where I see myself. This is what I would like. Have you found that with your groups as well?
I'll tell you what, I have found in my own life and with the people that I coach, that the current energies have no room for inauthenticity. Absolutely. If you are not living in your truth, if you are not walking in your truth, you are just it's fright after fright after fright after fright, challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge. The things we used to do before, the sticking your head under the sand, kind of just like pushing through, all of that kind of stuff. The energies no longer support that way of being. So you can either choose that you are going to do the necessary work to get in alignment with yourself so that you can flow through this experience, or you can choose to say, oh, well, I'm going to do what I always did because this always worked for me, or this is the way we've always done it, or, all of that kind of stuff. You can do that if you want to do that, but you're going to have a tough time because the energies and the times that we are living in, the energies just do not support inauthenticity.
Exactly. And that close connection. Pushed like that. And that close connection is so strong now. It's the strongest it's ever been. And you have to kind of keep moving that energy into a higher frequency. You've got to move it up. And it can make you very tired because the energies sometimes, even today, I looked up and I thought, my goodness me, is the sky that low down? Is this energy so, depressive and pushing? And it is. You got to keep on pushing those energies up. And we're finding, obviously, fires, volcanoes, things like that, weather warnings that we like in the UK, in your country, you might have something similar. But in the UK, there's like these weather warnings all over the place. Some of these, we've never had weather warnings like that for like 60 years. And then you've got now a fire
in South Africa in November.
Well, this is it.
That's supposed to be sun out.
Exactly. That's very strange. I mean, the last snow I remember was in the 70s when I was out there. I was going there to pick up my passport in the middle of Joburg and walking down, and the next minute, that was the end of that. And everybody stopped their cars, ran into in the middle of the main street in Joburg, and we're having a snowball fight. And that was in the 70s. So that's a really long time ago.
No. So no. This was like now. It was in November, and I mean, we're supposed to have. This was in KwaZulu-Natal, where the sun is supposed to be shining. I mean, it's supposed to be summer all year round. So it's the energies have changed. Things are shifting. You cannot expect your energy to hold, right, if you are not evolving.
And that's it, because if you don't evolve, then you get left behind, and that's the issue. We don't really, and nobody really wants to get left behind. Not really.
No.
We've got some questions here, I think. Shall we move to some questions? Come on, like and subscribe, everyone. Come on, let's get this really going. I think it's a great topic today. It's a little bit different. How marrying career and being in alignment with your true soul purpose, which is really good, because sometimes they match, and sometimes you need to question, is this the career for me? Or should I be doing something slightly different? And sometimes the answer to that might be yes.
And just to add to that, Bev, I also want to say that, sometimes you do need to be in a job that you don't want to do for a season, right? Yeah. And if you are in alignment with yourself and you are in your truth, right, then it will be clear to you that, okay, I don't want to particularly do X, Y, Z, but for a particular season, this is what I need to be doing to facilitate X, Y, and Z in my life. But it still comes from that knowing of self, right, and knowing what you need to be doing and knowing what's right. That's correct.
So we've got a very interesting question here, and it's I will say, I preface it that we're not therapists and we're not clinicians. So the advice that we will give is based on our own experience. This is from Nacy. The question is, any tips on reducing a fear of the dark? Done the normal EMDR therapy for a car accident and a doggy uncle, and I'm still stuck. And they say thanks.
I've got a weird tip for this. I've got a weird tip for this, right?
Go on then.
So, go and get yourself, if it's for when you're sleeping at night, right? Go and get yourself one of those blackout sleep masks and put all the lights on in the room, okay, and lie there with your eyes open, because you'll be in complete darkness because of the eye mask, but you're not. It's a weird psychological sort of thing. And I used to have some issues with some things, and I found that helped me a lot. And I don't know why it makes any sense, because you're getting used to being in the dark, or darkness, shall we say, but you're not. It's just having that, being able to have your eyes open and having the sleep mask take away the all the light. So try that. But again, listen to the ladies. I don't know what I'm talking about. So
what do you think,
do you
Zanele?
Okay, so I mean, I used to have a similar problem, and I think I've got two things that I would say. I think the one, what I found very useful is I got a salt lamp, right? So and so the lights would be off, but I would have my salt lamp on while I slept. So that was one thing that I did. But I think more importantly than that, I had to you have to process, right, why you're afraid of the dark, what's going on. So I don't know if you've got any processing techniques, but a very easy one is to imagine the energy of your fear, call it, ask it what it is, ask it to identify itself. You can then ask it why it's there. Is it yours? Does it belong to somebody else? And then you can go back to when you first experienced that. So take yourself back to that moment in time, find out what it is, work out what it is that you need to heal around that. And once you've worked through that, you then need to take that fear or that energy, right, and through your heart center, probably like integrate it back into the wholeness of who you are. I mean, I know I went through that pretty quickly, but it's the kind of thing what you probably, maybe, I mean, it's the kind of thing I would do in coaching. So maybe if you've got somebody who knows how to kind of process things that you work with, they'd be able to do something like that with you as well, because I think it's important to get to the bottom of the actual issue and the fear, right? And to understand what it is. You could be holding on to something that is not your energy, not your fear. It could belong to somebody else. You could be holding on to something that is from another timeline.
Exactly.
You could be holding on to something that's from another timeline. You could be holding on to, something that, so you kind of do need to go through some kind of process and understand exactly why it's happening. But I love the idea about the mask.
I thought that was cool.
I love the darkness. I find great comfort in the darkness. I also find great comfort knowing most people don't find comfort in the darkness. It's great. Once you find that balance with the dark, though, it's great.
Yeah, there is an issue. I think a lot of individuals, it's not so much, it's not actually, I find, it's not the dark. It's what could be living in the dark that's the problem. It's the wee ones that are running around like the tokolosh and the other things, the other little things that we spoke about before, that those things that are in the dark. So I will advise to say, I rebuke you, I rebuke you, I rebuke you.
I think I'm the deadliest thing in the dark. Whenever I'm alone if I'm alone in the dark, I'm the deadliest thing in that darkness, right?
We're not all you, Ron. We're not all you. We can't all just kick bottoms across the place and just go bish bash bosh. There's a lot of us ladies out there that would not stand a chance if there was an awful person, a boogeyman in the room. We wouldn't, or even worse, a tokolosh, because they're vicious little things.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, that's why my advice was, I rebuke you 3 times, and that's it. Make the safe space so that you can walk into the dark and switch your lights on. And if you wake up in the dark and you feel there's something there, you can use the same thing, because it's nice to have that level of light and know that what you're saying is going out and pushing it back and saying, no, I don't want you here. Get out. I rebuke you. Get out of here. And in the name of whatever, whether it's the source or whether it's the Christ consciousness or whatever faith you tend to follow, that that feels light to you, just use that. And those are the 3 various options that we've got, which is
you
really
often
good.
talk really about creating a safe sanctuary for yourself in your bed, because that's the last place you would go for the day. And you talked about putting salt under the mattress and around the bed and things like this. So maybe that's something that people could tie on to their practical getting over their fear of the dark by adding in a little bit of spiritual barricading, shall we say?
Oh, yeah, I think that's a really good one, and it is good practice anyway to have, to create a sacred space for you that is safe for you to sleep in. Obviously, when you sleep, generally, mostly, it's going to be dark anyway. But at least then when you if you do wake up, because nowadays we're finding the 333, people are waking up. A lot of people are waking up at 333 in the morning, and they're sitting up in their bed and thinking, "Oh my goodness me, why am I doing this?" And generally, that's either the angelic realm want to speak to you, or they've got something, or they've come down to protect you, or one of the guides or the ancestors or somebody has realized something untoward was happening. And at 333, which is exactly the time when that membrane between off worlds and other dimensions is really, really, really thin and transparent, and you'll get a lot of unusual things that are popping in and out at that time. So 333 is very common that you will wake up at the start and it's going to be dark. And if you are afraid of the dark, it might trigger you. So knowing that your space is like a raft in the middle of the sea that is safe. And if you sit on your raft, which is your bed, that is covered in salt underneath it, and you've got your rose quartz, your amethyst. And if you have a holy book of some sort, you can even put that under the bed, because that has a holy book of any faith will have that energy associated with it. And that's what you're looking for. Everything is vibration, energies, sequential frequencies. All of that is happening, and that frequency will be there, and it will help you then on your life raft, so to speak, to keep you safe, even if it is dark.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we've got another one from our James. Thanks, James, with his lovely doggy. Do other types of beings or civilizations have addiction issues, or is something that only Earth humans are afflicted with? Good question.
That is a good question. It's like he's doing sort of research for like a book. You know what I'm saying? Also, as well, I just want to say, Bev, I finally realized what we're both doing here with these questions. So you're starting at the bottom of the list, and I'm starting at the top of the list. So when you go into starred, scroll right up to the very top of the questions.
Okay.
The next one is misinformation, and then we go down the list, and then we're working in. So every week, Zanele, Bev and I are putting up questions, and I can't understand where she's getting her questions from. Like, why is she not using the list? But she's because she's at the bottom of the list. But that's fine. I figured it out now.
I'm so sorry, Ron.
No,
you know that I don't. Technology and me, they just don't. I muck it up. So I apologize that I'm doing it wrong. I'm so sorry.
I didn't want to mention it until I'd figured out what the problem was. It's just taken like 2 weeks for me to figure it out.
Oh, is that what I'm doing?
That's a great question. A little bit of me hopes you're about to tell me that they do. I don't know why, but I feel like it's a much more interesting story knowing that there's like space meth or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, actually, it's not called space. It's not called space substance.
Yeah,
there is. Just bear with me, everyone in the chat. They're going to just go crazy now, but I'm going to say this. There is a place called the Pleasure Planet.
I bet there is, Beverly. Tell me more. When are we going, baby? Come on. The Pleasure Planet. Yes.
Yeah, there is such a thing.
Get Mr. Man on the phone.
I met somebody.
We're off.
It's like a pleasure planet. I think that's the word that we've given it as humans, but it's probably called something else in like 32 different languages and different star languages and all sorts of things. But there's a few people I've met who had said that they unfortunately had been taken as an unwanted worker, begins with an S, which I won't use the word here, an unclassified worker to go and work in this particular roving planetoid. And I've had now about 5 people that have come up with similar stories, and they don't know each other at all because they're my clients from all different countries around the world. And I'm like, I'm sure I've heard this story somewhere before. And this one of the gentlemen, absolutely lovely gentleman in America who was in Utah and then moved. And you know who you are. And he was telling me about when he was taken from this military base, and he went to do the work there. And he was saying that, yes, there are specific things that work extremely well for other beings and other races. And there are things that for us would probably mean nothing, but for them it does. And he related a story of working in an aquatic area where they had these individuals, and Azria would know this, is the aquatic folks, you know, those lovely ones with beautiful skin that are shiny. And they were going there to have their R&R or have their break, and they had specific plant types that was part of their, you know, their happy place that they use, which could cause addiction issues. So that's a very long-winded way of answering the question to our James and say, yes, James, they do have. There.
I'll be very, very, very disappointed, right, Beverly, if when we meet up with Danny this year in that field, okay?
Yeah.
If we need to get him to bring the brochure. Just get him to throw the brochure for Pleasure Island out the window of the ship. Right, let's throw the brochure out. I'll give it a peruse, because I'm just saying that is, listen.
I'll introduce you to the lovely chap that actually worked on that planet. I'll introduce you to him. He's
Please do.
clever.
I'll be 2 minutes. I'll be back in 2 minutes. There's somebody at my door.
Oh, he's getting a delivery. There we go. Well, and I don't know where's your mind at with this, with all these off-world and planetary stuff. What do you feel about it? Because we didn't bring you in on there. Oh, I think you're on mute. Let me unmute you quickly.
So I would have assumed, so I didn't have the answer to this one. I was really waiting to kind of hear what you had to say, but I would have assumed so, just from kind of thinking about the kind of stuff that happens and the kind of entities that are maybe on the astral, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They you know, if somebody had an affliction and they're, you know, they still have those kind of afflictions if they haven't healed them in the astral. So I would have assumed that most certainly in other areas as well.
Yes, because there's like hundreds and hundreds and thousands of planets out there that have got life on them in various different forms, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pleased to hear. I'm pleased to hear that. Yes, and you can carry it. Unfortunately, you can carry it with you from life to life. Sadly, as it might be, especially if it's something that you haven't got over and you need to deal with it if it's a lesson. We've got still me, and it's hi Beverly. It's Catherine now. Catherine is a very interesting soul. She's going to be coming and helping with remote viewing work, and she's doing a really, really great job. We've got a comment from Carly, which is ever so funny. Ron stayed up too late playing video games. So that's really lovely. We've got people from all over the world. We've got people out in Florida. Just everybody stay safe in those areas. Here today, I had a client that told me that LAX, Los Angeles airport now is caught on fire. So if anybody knows anything about that, please just give us an update in the chat, because that's really difficult, and we just hope everything will be fine. And Pamela has said, hi, Zanele. Directly.
Hi, Pamela. I think Pamela, I saw somewhere in the questions, she had a comment. She was like, what if you don't know what your purpose was? Your purpose is, we're not talking about purpose. I don't know if it was Pamela, but I think it was her. If it is her, if you don't mind, I'd like to answer that very quickly. I think, yes, she asked a question and she said, but what if you don't know what your purpose is? Most of us don't know what our purpose is going in, right? We only really figure it out kind of like looking back, right? But what I wanted to offer is that if you are walking the path of connecting to who you are authentically and walking in your truth, right? I spoke earlier about how then you are in the flow of the universe and opportunities and people start coming into your life. And so if you are in that flow and in that receptiveness, coming from a place of authenticity and knowing who you are, it's your purpose almost through your life experiences, and that flow will reveal itself to you. So it's not like there's a school that you go to and it says, if you do these 10 things, you will now know what your purpose is. Understanding what your purpose is a function of a journey and a process. And if you're walking that journey and you're walking it in truth, you will discover your purpose, and you will discover that, because this is what happens, right? So I know who I am, and now I'm walking in my truth, and I'm making decisions that feel authentic, that are empowered. You will start having you will start taking inspired action, right?
Oh, good.
Inspired
Good.
action is really what comes to you, right? You'll suddenly feel like doing this, or calling this particular person for this, but it actually presents an opportunity, or whatever it is, you start taking inspired action. And it's as you take one action, something else unfolds, and the next the next place where you need to put the next foot on, you put your foot down on, will appear. So it's not always necessarily like a race to my purpose. It can be one inspired action leading to another inspired action, leading to another inspired action. And it's like you put one foot down, you go with that, and then a stepping stone appears, and you put your foot on the next stepping stone. And for me, I think that's how, for me personally, I think that's how most people, right, come to a place of understanding what their purpose is. So whether it's inspired action in just kind of your everyday being and your everyday beingness, or sometimes so that's like in the affirmative, or sometimes it's recovering from negative experiences, right? So you've been through something terrible, and somebody calls you and they're going through something similar, and you just start talking to them and counseling them through that, and then they in turn tell somebody else that you help them, and then somebody else calls you, and you talk to them, and before you know it, you've spoken to 10 people, and you suddenly realize that thing that you went through, right, is part of what it is that you can offer the world, right? And so it can sometimes be and there's different ways of offering something to the world. It can, I think it's all service. Sometimes it is sometimes it's just your beingness, your time. So I'm coaching, I'm mentoring, I'm doing what Bev does, whatever it is. Sometimes it's creating products and solutions, right?
Yes,
that you can put out into the world, that come from that inspired action, that come from the things that we've been through in our lives, right? That we can offer other people as solutions, as a way to hold space for them while they are kind of going through their experience as well.
Absolutely, and that's very much part of where we're at right now. I think
I'm back as well.
You're back. Okay. I'm just putting up, this is Zanele's website, and the link again for the career journal. For those that haven't seen it, it's up on the screen, and we'll share all of the links and all of the areas, all the websites and everything. We'll share it in the description below.
All right, next question. Of a couple of shout outs for Bev here. Great session with Bev this morning, and then same lady once again. Bev is amazing. She helped me so much. And the next question: how can we discover our soul gifts to start using it?
I think we just went through that with Zanele, where somebody else asked exactly the same question. It was worded differently, but thank you, Personality 333.
I'm a 70-year-old retired medical and psychiatric social worker and love my path, but chronic pain illness has stopped me in my tracks. How does one carry on?
Wow, that's quite something. Thank you for your service as a 71-year-old retired medical and psychiatric social worker. I know that's a very difficult path, so thank you for your service. That's amazing. Have you got any advice there, Zanele?
I think my first question would be, so is she talking about how does she carry on with chronic pain? So it carry on in terms of how do I manage the pain that I'm in, or she says it stopped her in her tracks. Is she talking about how does she carry on with her work? Sorry, just clarity around that. I suppose we're not going to really know the answer, but I can give, if we're talking about how do I carry on in terms of the work aspect of it. So she's got the chronic pain. You can't physically go in and do what it is that you used to do, but you can find ways to pivot, right? Based on the knowledge you have and the skills that you have. Maybe you're sitting there with knowledge that can help an everyday person, and you should have a YouTube channel and should be talking to people. Maybe you should be finding ways to coach and mentor people. I'm not saying that's exactly what it is because I don't know the circumstances, but we can always pivot from where we are, right? And sometimes I say, and I'm not saying obviously that you should be in pain and going through this, but sometimes the pivot comes when it is time for us to leverage our gifts in a different way, right? So, to give you the example, like I said, I was always in just pure talent, putting people into companies and businesses. And then I started counseling a lot of these people because they were unhappy and leaving and this, and then their needs changed. And through that, I started coaching. And then through that, I started, let me write a book and all this other stuff. So there's the core sort of skill base that you have, and you may not be able to be of service in the way that you were, but it's about saying, what is it that I have inside of me? Going back to those gifts that I spoke about, right? What is it that I have inside of me? Is it knowledge? Is it experience? Is it whatever it is? What is it that people, I have an exercise in the book where I say, what is it other people say you're good at, right?
Yeah, exactly.
People, people will, maybe people say, every time I feel so good after speaking to you, right? And that is a gift, right? That is a gift. Right. It doesn't always have to be like a technical thing. What do people say you're good at, right? People, if they say you're a good listener, right, then maybe you can be a coach. If they say you're, what is it that people say you're good at? Not just kind of what you think, but what is it that you hear from people all the time? And sometimes you just put it on the side, right? Because it's not part of your job, or it's not part of what you do, or, you don't take it seriously. But if you had to really do an audit, for me, people are always like, when they get off the phone with me, they feel like they've had a hug from mom, or, now they know what to do. Right. I didn't know what to do. Okay, now I know what to do. Now I have a plan. Right. And so for me, it was like when I say holding others in safe space, right, is my purpose. That came from understanding what people said, what people said about what I'm good at. Not necessarily, because if you ask me what I say I'm good at, I'll give you a totally different answer. My answer will probably be more technical, right? Around what I think my skills are, in terms of what it is that I'm good at and what I think my purpose is, and, whatever, all that other kind of stuff. But when you start to reflect on what it is other people, because the other people are the people that are going to be coming to you for that service, right? What are they saying you're good at? And start to see how you can take that and package that.
And I think at 71, it's possible, being retired medical and psychiatric social worker, it might be an opportunity to do some digital learning or write a digital learning package of some sort to help other social workers. Because at 71, this retired person must have had a whole wealth of amazing experiences that 100%. The younger folks that are social workers going into the social working field at the moment, they could learn from that. What do you do with this? What do you do with that? This is a scenario. How did I do this? And that sort of thing. And then have your, cue questions and answers at the bottom. And things that, in my time, you used to have, an apprentice. And you'd have to go. And I was an apprentice one day. And I had to go and I had to sit with this gentleman and I had to watch what he was doing. And I had to learn from him because he had a very specific way of dealing with the specific issues. In the shipping environment. And that's how I learned how to do that at that time. I was very young at the time, and it was very worthwhile because I learned from him how to keep your cool when you're dealing with irate customers, because he used to get a lot of calls from all over the world to say, well, this hasn't arrived on the boat. Why hasn't it arrived? Is it in the wharf? Is it still in cargo? What's happened? What do I owe? And you could hear them in those days on the phone, the proper phone, on the phone, and on the old big black Bakelite phone. And he was holding, and he had to hold this out, and I would say, oh dear, what's happened? He said, oh, they're going to scream at us now, and you hear this. And that was something that he was able to teach. So I'm sure as a 71-year-old, you must have loads of amazing things that you could pass on to the next generation. I hope we've answered that question.
Our personal story is so, each and every single one of us, your personal story is so empowering, and it's filled with so many sort of nuggets and bits and pieces of your gifts and things you can leverage, right, to really create or manifest or intentionally put out, whatever language you use, sort of the life that you want to experience. Like, and we're not taught how to do that, right? It's kind of like, do you want to be a lawyer, doctor, teacher, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody says, what do people say you're good at? What has your life experience been? What challenges have you gone through? What did you learn from them? How can you package that and put that out so that you can add value in other people's lives? Like nobody does that particular piece. And when you look at what the World Economic Forum said, right, and when they're saying that 50% of the skills that we have are going to become redundant, and it's all the soft stuff that AI can't replicate, by the way, right? That is going to be the skills that we need. AI cannot replicate that, right? And we all have unique soft skills, things that authentically, right, are a result of your life experience. And it's about understanding what that is, packaging it, harnessing it, and putting it out into the world.
Absolutely, because AI doesn't have a soul, firstly, and they're not in integrity because they're mechanical. They've been taught in a different way, and they can't see it as a soul, and they don't have free will either. So yes, we need to up our game and realize, let them do the aspects that they can do, the mundane things, mechanical things. And because we are sovereign beings and we have free will and we have a soul, exactly that. Concentrate on the spiritual practices. Concentrate on the soft skills, because that is something where we can make a difference. We've got Collie Lou. Hi, Zanele. Can spiritual practices such as meditation or mindfulness help individuals identify and pursue jobs that reflect who they truly are?
Absolutely. I think that is the entire point that we have been making, is to say that you aren't just a 3D manifested sort of like robot, right? We're talking about AI. You aren't just a 3D kind of manifested robot. You are a spiritual being first, right? And you're having an earthly experience. And so when you can tap into your spiritual nature, when we talk about your truth, right, we're talking about your spiritual nature, we're talking about your soul, whatever language it is that you use. When you are connected to that and you are walking in your authenticity, the inspired action, which is what we spoke about, will happen. The universe will conspire to make, the intentions that you set come to be. The people that you need, the opportunities that you need will appear. If you're pursuing something and it is not aligned to the truth of who you are, right? Even if you think it is the job that you want, if your soul doesn't want it, your soul doesn't want it, and it probably won't happen. And if you force it, it'll probably be a terrible experience.
Well, the problem is when you force it, the universe has a way of kicking you in the bottom and saying, No, that's not what we wanted you to do. This is part of your soul plan. This is something that you should be doing in this lifetime. These are your contracts, and what you've chosen to do, you've veered so far off to the other side that this is not part of what you're meant to be doing. And it will just stop you in everything that you're doing and make you think, what am I supposed to be doing? And then suddenly you'll think, oh, actually, this is where I think I should be, and you'll get back on track again.
But you see, Bev, the challenge is that society kind of like says you have to do what makes sense, right? So we're not taught to tap into the self to make the decision about what I should be doing around my career, right? We're taught that you kind of got to do what makes sense. Most of us fall into our careers, fall into our lives, marry this kind of guy because it's what makes sense. It's have these kind of friends, do this kind of thing. We go from job to job. I mean, if you think about the amount of time you spend at the workplace, right, in terms of your life, 8 o'clock in the morning, you're somewhere. Most people work way past 5 p.m. You've got, like, my son recently started working, and he said, this is a scam. And I said, what's a scam?
That's a clever lad.
He's like, this is a scam. He said, I've got no time, right, to have a life. He said, I get back from work, I'm tired, and then it's time to sleep because I've got to go back to work again. And I said, he's like, this makes no sense. Because I'm forcing him obviously to work just for the discipline aspect of it, right?
Good for you. Good, mama.
And not because I want him to spend his life doing something which isn't his purpose and his passion. And so I think that what I explained to him was that it feels that way because you're doing something that is not aligned to the truth of who you are, and it's not aligned to your purpose. So you're just kind of like going through the motions, and you're just like, you're comparing your time, which is the most valuable sort of the valuable thing that you have. You're comparing it to your paycheck, and the two just don't. It doesn't add up.
And that seems to be.
I'm giving away hours of my life for this piece of paper. You're like,
yeah. True.
No. Yeah.
We've got another question from Vanessa, who says here, what do you think about mood boards? And a lovely smiley face and thank you.
So I used to vision board quite a bit. Not necessarily mood board, but similar kind of thing in concept. I think it's always great to be able to visualize, to have something visual, right, that sends a message to your brain around how you want to kind of like appear or how you want to take up space in the world. So there's that one aspect for us, because I think our eyes are, so I see this amazing kinesiologist, and a lot of the time when I'm out of alignment or something's not feeling correct with me, we do a lot of eye mode exercises, and a lot of it's visualization. It's like color or this or that or whatever. So I think the visualization is a really important part of kind of how we give our mind a story about what we want to materialize. And I use the word materialize on purpose because we sometimes mix up materializing and manifestation. So materializing is what you do when you involve the mind, right? Manifestation is your state of being before there is a mind, right? Before you had a mind, you were soul, you were out there in the world, in the moment, in the now, whatever you want to call that. And in that particular space, if you can get yourself there, you can make anything happen, right? But a lot of us struggle because the mind is such an important part of how we function, right? So so yes, if you are putting out mood boards and you're putting out all of those kind of things, it does help you materialize, right? Things. But you if you can do the meditation, going back to the previous questions, if you can get yourself back to the moment before there was a mind, then you can manifest what it is that you want to without needing to do all of that. But obviously that takes, that's a whole topic on its own, right? Getting yourself into the moment, and materialization versus manifestation. So yes. And then there's the other thing. I mean, I don't know, Bev, maybe you'll speak here. A part of me is always like, so I'm putting this out there, and who's seeing it? Who's monitoring? What energies are out there? Should I be putting it out there for, others to see? If somebody else sees it and they don't have my best interest at heart, what kind of energy and vibes are they going to send to me? How would it impact what I'm trying to put out into the world? Because when we do take what's sitting in here and we kind of put it out into the material, whether you're telling somebody about something, or you're putting up a mood board, or you're putting up a vision board, or whatever, but you're basically taking it out of your kind of your safe, sacred space. You are putting it out there. And so if you are putting it out there in an environment where there are people that maybe, don't necessarily have your best interests at heart, that negative energy can impact the thing that you're wishing for, right? Or not necessarily always the outcome, but it can, it can send energy, that can kind of, derail what you're trying to do. So I've answered you. I've given you sort of kind of like two sides of this of that particular coin.
And then that's it. When you do find what you need, sometimes you will find there's a resistance from individuals. There is always this push and pull, but there is always a balance. And if you do get to a point where you have this inner realization, because you within your heart and soul, you will always really know what is right for you, and you will feel that, yes, I have the synchronicity. I'm pulling things towards me that are right for me, and you are pushing away things that are negative towards you. Unfortunately, the way that the world has been over the last few years particularly is when somebody starts to be successful, or somebody wants to change something, change is extremely difficult, and it creates these spikes that come out in your energetic field. And as the change happens, it gets really scratchy, and you get this energetic push where sometimes you get, these funny little twingy feelings around you, because it's almost like shedding your previous life and shedding what you were doing previously energetically, and allowing yourself to step into the new you and embrace and take on the new year. So you will find it very difficult to say, actually, I feel good about myself, and I'm not going to label myself as something, but I'm going to start moving forward in the best way that I can and live my best life. And at least that is just the start of it. And sometimes you will find that people will say to you, well, you're a bit selfish, aren't you? You're talking about yourself all the time. You're talking about how you love yourself and that. But go and look up the narrative behind the word selfish in the dictionary, and you'll be very surprised what it actually means. Have you got any comments? It means doing the best in view of yourself, doing what is best for you as a person.
Right.
Doing what is right for the self. So it's like if you look up the word hopeless in the dictionary too, it means where there's the absence of hope. So I try not to use the various words. Hopeless is one of them that I do not use, because it has a very negative, spiky energy attached to it. The other one I don't use is selfish, because that also has a spiky energy attached to it, because words have energy, and it comes out of your mouth and it'll go and find the source, particularly if you have a name associated. So if you call somebody a selfish person, that person is really selfish, then you're expecting these hooks and the claws to go out and find that person. So withdraw it very quickly, because words have energy and they have particularly spikes, or they have nice flowing energies, think about what it is you're saying. So, Tashel Samash, I was able to enter a world called Na'anu. They scanned my eyes upon entry. I was probably astral traveling. Any thought? Yeah, there's two things there, Tashel. It's either an astral projection, or you've gone out completely out, because it sounds a bit. If it's called Anu, it's probably off world, so you more than likely attended with others, because there's a lot of activity happening at the moment off world, where individuals are being able to go out of the top area, out, and travel to see others that are coming and visiting our planet at the moment. What is this? Oh, Nikota, Sacred I Am, 888 I Am. Oh, that's very nice. Many of individuals have been dumbed down and feel very lost and do not have the right guidance, as this has been blocked by society, and this is in unentangling now, as everything is within that has to be released. That's a great aspect to say. Thank you so much. And yes, I do agree. Do you? I think Zanele, do you agree with that too?
100% beautiful sentiment. And I love that there is the community of us that are walking in this energy, and is just growing every single day. Wonderful. Yeah.
More and more lights are coming on, more and more light warriors are coming into their own. People are realizing this is what I want to be. This is where I want to be. This is how I want to be in service. And they're wanting to do not only what is right for the world as an earth being in itself, but also help people that are around them and playing it forward. I'm getting a lot of folks now that are saying, somebody did this for me, and I want to do the same. Something was given to me in kindness and goodness, and actually I'm going to give this to you. And I've seen a lot of this happening recently. People are playing things forward. So if you can, send that energy forward. If everybody did that, could you imagine eventually that light track would eventually end up all over the world?
Yeah. And I also think when we talk about guidance, we've kind of, up until now, we've lived in this society where there's always somebody to tell you what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
The government tells you what to do about this. The revenue guy tells you what to do about your taxes. The healthcare system tells you what to do. Your boss tells you, can choose whether you're going to be successful or not, if they decide to promote you or not, or if they decide to do this for you or that for you. Whatever it is, we this whole idea of like an authority, the authority who is the one that provides the guidance for how you're going to live your life. And in this new energy that we're all in the world now, the authority figures are all falling away, and those structures, right? And we're all learning to be our own authority, right? And the way you can be your own authority is going back again, like I said, into that understanding what your authentic nature is, understanding who you are, walking in your truth. And I think it's incredibly important, because people don't know who to trust anymore, right? And so it becomes incredibly difficult if you're looking for guidance, right, from where you've always gotten it, right? Wanting to use the tools from where you've always gotten them. It's just become incredibly hard, because the structures are just not there, and so it is time for each and every single one of us to walk in our power. You've got to take your power back from all the places you left it, disempowered yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever, you kind of like got to do that walk back and call all those aspects of yourself back, right? So that you can be your authority, right?
And close all the contracts that don't work for you, because if it doesn't work for you in this lifetime and it's really, really not serving you, then it's best to close that contract, relinquish the contract, clear the contract, and move on, irrespective of who it is. We're getting a lot of folks now that have got what I call frenemies. So people that are pretending to be friends, but actually they don't have your best interest at heart, and behind the scenes, they're actually enemies. And you've got to then start understanding and feel for yourself, what is this person? Is this person, you concentrate on the name, is this person a friend or is this person a foe? And if it's a person that is a frenemy, then decide, this is not working for me. I need to move on. Because then when you open the space, somebody else will come into that space. That will be far better for you and help you on your next step of your journey. But you have to open the space first. And if somebody is sitting in that space, you're never going to be able to move away from that, because that space
100%.
is being held.
100%. 100%.
We've got random at large. Oh, sorry, I missed that one. Okay. Random at large. You put it back. Thanks, Ron. Is Hawaiian Huna the same as being a medium or having psychic remote viewing abilities, being able to hear, sense, and see things? I'd like to know what gifts I can offer society. So Hawaiian Huna is extremely ancient. It's one of the ancient gifts that were part and parcel of the society and individuals from Hawaii that I've met over the last couple of weeks, actually. They have said that mainly Huna is for healing. They do have various, keepers, teachers, mainly teachers, that are all imparting their knowledge in Hawaii, which is really wonderful. And I think that some people that are utilizing Hawaiian Huna for healing, they also have an innate inner psychic ability. They would, just by the nature of their abilities, their extrasensory perception, they would be able to remote view as well if they wanted to. So that's my feeling on that. And they should be able to sense things. I'm not sure whether they'd have the clairaudience, whether they would actually hear it. I think when I meet with the next Huna group that I'm going to be chatting to in Hawaii over the next couple of weeks, I'll probably be asking them, because they seem to have a very different way about them, which I really enjoy. But I haven't asked them yet everything about, Huna, what they're doing, how they're doing it. I'm hoping to have one of the Huna teachers from Hawaii coming on the show in the next few months, directly from Hawaii, who'll be able to explain about what they're doing and all the changes they're making. Why I was interested was because they had sent somebody into one of the prisons, and they had done a lot of Huna healing in the prisons, and they had done some amazing work, and I thought that was really interesting. So fingers crossed we might be able to get them. Right, Sarah, Nature's Way UK. Does everyone have a psychic ability, and how do you tune in? And as often I predict things, but I think it's just coincidence sometimes. That's really good. Good question, Sarah. You want to have a look at that one, Zanele?
So I think that because we are all soul, right, inside of each and every single one of us, we have abilities. I think your capability to utilize that depends on how rooted you are in the 3D, right? If you are 100% rooted in 3D and you kind of see nothing outside of that, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to be able to connect, right, to your higher self and to those, whatever sort of aspects of yourself, to be able to show up in that particular way, right, in order to be able to do those things. So I think that really is my answer, is that I think we all have an aspect, we have to, by our very nature, by our makeup, right? But you've got to be attuned to it, right, in order to be able to utilize it. And your ability to attune to it, I think, is very much rooted in how attached you are, or how much you function within the 3D. If 3D is it, and it's all you know, and it's all you experience, and and it's difficult for your mind to open up to the possibility of other things. And even when you talk about predicting things, if you rationalize it each and every single time, right, apply some kind of intellectual sort of treatment on everything that happens, right, then you're not going to be able to have that experience. I think that would be my answer.
Oh, thank you. So, Sarah, I think with that, everything that Zanele said is absolutely right, particularly being attached to 3D. But a very quick question is, everybody does have an extra sensory perception ability. We're born that way. And, you just have to think about, some children were born and then they have little invisible friends on the side, or they see something over here, or they see something over there. We all started off like that. But unfortunately, through the 3D experience and through educational system and what our belief systems are, we get closed off and closed off and closed off. So the psychic ability then gets less and less and less. And our ability to be able to connect with things and utilize those energies, that gets less and less. They tune out rather than tune in. But I don't think that where you say that things are just a coincidence, try to open yourself up if you can, Sarah, and just allow things to be and make a note of it. If you keep seeing 11:11 and you keep seeing things, watches and clocks and things, have a look and make a note in your journal. Make even a note on your phone and say, this is what happened, this is what's happening, that's what's happening, and see how many times. And if you end up with pages and pages of coincidences, it's highly unlikely. The universe doesn't really deal with coincidences. That is a human manufactured aspect. Coincidence is not a coincidence. It is universal energy, vibration, frequency. And that's why it keeps coming up. Hopefully that answers the question. Okay. Hot Pocket. Oh, look at that. And it's cute little picture. Oh, that's so cute. I've always felt different, but have no idea how to wake up the talents I sense deep. Any suggestions?
I mean, all the stuff we've been talking about today.
How would you go about explaining to Hot Pocket?
I've always felt different. It's good. We all are different. Different is not bad. If we were all the same person walking around, imagine how boring life would be.
It would.
So different is good. And I think that's part of when I spoke about authenticity and I spoke about special gifts. It's like when you know who you are, right? And knowing who you are is the things that make you different as part of that, right? The things that make you unique, right? In terms of how you wake up the talents, I mean, that's not an easy way. There's no easy way for me to answer that, not having spoken to you, because I'm not aware of what you've done, where you are on your journey, and kind of, your level of understanding, just in terms of process. But if you want looking to wake up talents, or you're looking to do anything, nothing beats setting intention from a place of being truly centered. If you're saying, I'm ready to know what my talents and my gifts are, you can, in deep meditation, in prayer, whatever it is that you do, right? I don't know, everybody's different in terms of what their spiritual beliefs are. You can put that out into the universe or to your higher power or whatever it is, and set the intention that you want to wake up the talents, right? And you don't have to do it like in one big, because sometimes the universe is quite literal, right? You've got to be really careful with how you set intention. So maybe you don't necessarily have to say, I want to wake up my talents first time around. Maybe you can be like, I want to become just aware of what they are. So you set that intention, right? And then you walk around with the consciousness and awareness to be able to identify what they are. Once you've identified what they are, then you can set the next intention, around, okay, now I know who they are, what they are. Then related to that, it can be, I would like to wake up this aspect, or set an intention. I want to come across more people in my life that are on this path or on this journey. You can take it in stages. You don't necessarily have to be like, universe, wake up my talents now, because that can be really scary. The universe is literal.
Sometimes, yeah. Careful what you ask for.
Look, careful what you ask for. The universe is they don't understand your sort of like nuances, you know.
No,
so you've really got to be. I always like to break down intention setting into pieces. And I always, because that way you don't get a nasty surprise, because you could be like, oh universe, I need to be a gazillionaire, and the universe is like, oh, she wants the quickest way to be a gazillionaire. Okay, then we'll kill Gran's worth lots of money, and now suddenly you're a gazillionaire.
Unalive Gran.
Yeah, I am so glad that you've said all this, right? Because I just got interviewed by Danny Henderson last week, and I was talking to her about how long it took me to really seal my home up, right? Because of the legal, I refer to it as the legal small print of the magical realm, right? And exactly as you said there, and it's a great, sort of a quick and easy way of summing it up. Give me more money, and then you get hit by a car and get a claim, but you're you've got to understand, right? The universe, I wouldn't say it has a sixth sense of humor, but it's one thing it wants to do. And one thing it wants to do is teach you a lesson, and that lesson can be the one that you want or the one that you don't expect. And that for me has been the biggest learning curve.
It has, and because hot pot, you know, as being an M number, it's those types of numbers, you know, the master numbers, and that's exactly what you were saying earlier. This person is extremely focused. And because you've been so focused on everything, and you like to have your problem solvers, and you like to have your control and get your emotions under control, and making sure that you're quite analytical, try to start moving away from that and allow your innovation, your intuitiveness, and a little bit of your imagination coming in as well. And stop allowing all your strong willfulness to be all part of it, because the two at the moment, because it's a 4 and a 4 master number 44, those two, they do tend to have two different sides. And allow yourself then to be calmer and focused, but then allow yourself to grow, which seems to be the overall message there. I hope that answers it, Hot Pot. That was misinformation. Do you know anything about the GATE, gifted and talented programs at school? TAG is being used to control psychic kids, and MK Ultra. Yeah, MK Ultra control. That's been going on since like I was at school, which is a very long time ago. Unfortunately, that is still going on. The gifted and talented programs, they do ferret out specific types of children, and they'll be used. They can be used for two, either for the greater good, or they can be pushed and pulled into a military environment and used for whatever purposes the ruling government or the ruling class of elite decide to use them for. So yeah, thank you. Right, Sharon has said, one thing that really upsets me is the cost of specialized equipment for health, well-being, and better quality of life for the elderly and physically challenged people. Will this change? I think it will change, Sharon, being one of those that are falling into some of those categories there, particularly physically challenged. Yes, it will change, mainly because I think those of us that are physically challenged, I'm very good at moaning when I can't get around and I can't get what I need to get into a particular place, or I can't travel because they don't, you can't get into a plane, or you have an issue with something that it's not big enough for the chair or whatever it is. So we are very vocal, those of us that have physical challenges and disabilities or are older. We make sure that we are heard. And I think just because we moan a lot, because we do moan a lot, we will be heard, and things will change because we'll just keep putting pressure on everyone. So Terry Willis, I am unsure of which way to go due to poor health. Could you ladies see anything for me moving forward? I appreciate you. Thank you for the kind words there, Thierry. We, as you know, we're not really allowed to sort of provide advice on poor health or clinical aspects. But just looking at your photo and looking at the energies around you, and the fact that you have now realized that you would like to move forward, tells us that you're on that first step. You're already questioning, you're starting to move, and that's exactly where you need to be. Just by making that first step, Thierry, you are going to move forward. And if you start pulling in and attracting the aspects that you want in your life, and if that does include looking at opportunities clinically or in other ways to help your poor health, the right opportunities to fix and to allow better health to come your way will come your way. Oh, random at large, $5. Thank you for the $5. I've just noticed this child with a big beard. That is too hysterically funny. Sorry, that tickles me a bit. I hope you can all see it because it's really funny. Do individuals with colored eyes have a better psychic ability over others who don't carry these types of genes? Interesting question.
No.
Eye color is a different one because you have the bloodlines, but then you also have the Rh negative blood as well. And then you also have the different types of links to the individuals that were sort of part of the angelic realm. So the red hair, the hazel eyes, or the green eyes, or the green and gold eyes, as well as a negative bloodline, so O negative or B negative, those particular ones, they're not necessarily a better psychic ability over others. They would be able to activate it quicker, earlier, and then they would be able to possibly extend it and pull it out to be able to use it more because they have more genetics that would enable it. It's not about being better psychic ability. It's just having a different level of ability in the genetics. Thank you for the chat, by the way, the super chat.
All right, believe it or not. Oh no, there's one more.
There's one more. We've had that one. We've had Sarah's. We had Sarah's.
Okay, nice one. I think we've actually made it through all of our questions for once. Maybe we have. Maybe we haven't. Have we? For the last 5 years, Carly. There we go.
Yeah. For the past 5 years, I felt drawn to reside in warmer climates. Oh, you and me both, Carly. But my job's pay scale is higher where I am now. Is there a way to make this happen?
I was going to say, get an only. I saw that I saw a post today. Somebody was like, beginning of the year, I want to get an OnlyFans, but what will I say to my mom, my pastor, my husband?
How you doing, Maggie? Good to see you. Nice to see you here.
There's Maggie. Hello. Gosh, we haven't seen you for ages. Where have you been? And I hope things are much better for you because I watched a few of the shows that you did with Ron. And I sent some really great healing energy and things to fix it. So happy to see you as well. And let us know that you're okay now, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a bit of a random one, right? Do you know anything about Aztec non-alive whistles and the difference between a good one and a bad one if you were looking to purchase one? Anybody got any advice on Amazonian DEATH whistles? Just put it in the side chat if you have. I'm in the market for one. So if anybody's got any advice, let me know.
Yeah, they are very different types because some of them work on different frequencies. So just be careful how you use them. There are those, I will warn you, there are those out there that are fakes. There are
for sure. Yeah. Oh, so, it'll definitely be a fake. I get it. If I'm shopping on the internet, you guarantee it's going to come from some mad basement somewhere, from somewhere that's definitely not the Amazon. But no, I want one for when I go start these ghost hunts in February, just to rattle the
talking about ghost hunts. The ghost hunts. We're going in May down to Eastbourne. Today we had a fantastic tip-off from somebody who has got 2 properties down in Eastbourne that are 20 minutes away from where we're going to be. They've said, if you would like to come and set up all your equipment, Ron, absolutely come and do it. So I've said to her, I promised her faithfully that I would tell you, and she will then tell you where they are. And apparently they're like really rife. So I would imagine all your new beautiful equipment you've got
Like,
set it all up. I think you're going to have a
I'm
time.
not being funny. Like the other night, I'm sitting with Dan, and I'm like, "Do you know how excited I am to go ghost hunting this year with Beverly? Right? Do you know how excited I am to go meet the aliens this year with Beverly? It's a big year, Dan. It's a big year."
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So,
yeah, and of course, and Danny. Hopefully, Danny will come along with some of these unusual things we're doing. It's going to be a lot of fun.
If you're going to be going ghost hunting by yourself in graveyards in Scotland, you buy one of these whistles to clear out all of the people that substance abuse inside graveyards and all the homeless people that sleep in graveyards before you start your hunt. 2 minutes blowing on one of those whistles and everyone's leaving, right? I don't care
No,
who
I would imagine so.
How big and scary you think you are. You hear one of those 125 decibel, the exact sound of human screams. They're real wild, these things. They're wild. They're wild.
Oh, I think it's good. So she says here, her name is Suzanne. She says one is called Michelin Priory and the other one is called, this one's a really, this one's going to be like majorly full on. The Hellingly, Hellingly Asylum. Oh, that's scary. That's going to be very, very good. So I passed on Suzanne's message, and there we go.
We're going to an asylum, did you just say? You left that right to the end of the story. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's Beverly. Oh, Ron, it's going to be great. We're just 20 minutes down the road from this place. You can set up all your equipment. Oh, and by the way, it's an asylum. Okay, Bev, nice one, mate.
It's a previous asylum, yes. But I used to live in when we worked up in Norwich, because my partner works for a hospital, and the hospital needed those particular skills up there for a period of 1 year. And the only place that we could get to live was in an ex-asylum that they turned into the most beautiful, like upstairs, downstairs, beautiful, really gorgeous apartments. And they had to be gorgeous because of where they were built. And the only one that was available, the last one left, it was in the female wing, and it had these big walls at the back. Oh my goodness. And I walked out into the garden when we went to view it, and it had scratched and etched into the brick all the names of these people in the asylum. Anyway, we still took it because we weren't worried about it. We had lots of activity. You'd love it.
Just keep in mind, when I think of ghost hunts, I'm thinking of country manners, that when we pay for accommodation or tax write-offs, because everything in a YouTube video is technically a tax write-off. That's why YouTubers buy all of their cars in videos, because it's now a prop for a video. So when they buy a car for their mum, it's a tax write-off. It's wild.
I didn't know that.
Well, now you do. Now we'll be going to fancy places. Now we'll be going fancy places to go ghost hunting.
We are. We're going to the stuff. Yeah, but we're going this Michelin Priory, and we're going to the Hellingly Asylum.
Oh yeah,
it's 20 minutes away from where we're staying when we do it. We're going.
Not even Zanele is buying into this whole the asylum's going to be anything close to.
I'm just waiting to get I want to hear all about it when you come back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we're going to have some good footage. We'll tell you for sure, because you'll love it. And I know the asylums are full on, because I know what we lived in.
So
in
Norwich. Pound, our wonderful side chat regular here, is Pound. She is wondering, why do I go ghost hunting on my own? Right. I hate jump scares, right? Watching a scary movie with my partner Dan, right? She's more scary than the movie, right? Oh, wow. And I'm holding expensive equipment, right? So this is what'll happen, right? This is what will usually happen, right? Something totally unscary will happen, and whoever's with me will start losing it. Right, they'll start losing it, and they'll start getting closer to me and closer to me, and eventually something's going to happen that's going to make them jump out their skin, which is going to make me jump out my skin, which is going to make me hate you. Okay, right? I'm going to be like, why are you here, dead weight? I hate it, right? But it's different if it's with Bev, or we're going somewhere, it's a location or whatever. But if it's me going out in Edinburgh by myself, man, the last thing I want is somebody with me, because I've tried it. It doesn't work. Well, it's not even that. I just don't think I think the spirits are way more responsive when I'm by myself. I'm very welcoming, and I'm very come interact with me, come talk to me. Whereas I think when there's non-believers there, or people that are, muggles, when the muggles are there, it doesn't work out well. Do you know what I'm saying? Go back and watch your telly, muggle. Okay.
Why not? Yes. Oh my word. I love it. I think we're going to have lots of fun. If there's another question. Oh, here we go. What is this? Fear of the dark. We've done that one. That's because we're getting down.
What I saw, Bev, just to, if you don't mind, I've seen a lot of, in the chats, a lot of people talking about family and having issues with family and, this and that kind of thing. I wanted to just say, there's different kinds of questions, but all relating to relationships with family. And I wanted to say that I think in society, we confuse a relative and a family. Relatives are people you share blood with.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right. Your family is your soul tribe. You make that.
Soul tribe.
And you create your family. And society is kind of like enforced upon us that our family is our relatives, right? But actually, those are people you just share blood with. Some of them will be your soul tribe, some of them will not. Some will just be in
soul tribe is a banger. I've never heard that term. And I've not had a word for it, right? But soul tribe is it. That's the one. I've never. You probably all heard that before, and I'm nerding out right now. But that's a great term.
Yeah, it's a great term.
We confuse that. It's because society said if just because somebody's your relative, they are your family. No, some people are just awful, and you wouldn't let an outsider treat you that way. So there's somebody here who's saying, sometimes I feel like my family doesn't appreciate me. Am I wrong to feel this way? No, if you feel like people aren't appreciating you, people, that your feelings are valid. And if that was an external person and it wasn't your so-called family relative, right, you wouldn't tolerate it. You'd have a boundary in place. They wouldn't even be in your life. But because you're told they're your family, they're actually your relative and only your relative, you end up putting up with it, right? This toxicity that is in your space all the time, where you shouldn't be. And I think it's just so important that, I've seen quite a few questions, like people just talking about like family and family dynamics. And I'm just, your family, you create it. You meet somebody on your path and you're like, these people are my soul tribe. These people are my tribe. Your relatives are just that. You share blood. If you need a blood transfusion, you know where to go.
Or just use one of the RH negatives ones, because it's what they call the savior blood. It can be used on any blood type, which is fine.
Is soul tribe, is that like a common saying thing, or is that just someone like copyrighted there? So I can snap that on some merch, right? So soul tribe merch coming soon, right? Because that is sick. That is sick.
It's a good one. Yeah,
sick, man.
So you find your tribe. Yeah, you get soul family, which is the bloodline that you get born into and that you've worked through many lifetimes. But then you create your soul tribe. So you'll attract your tribe to you.
It's like the same concept as soulmates, right? We've all heard of soulmates. So soul. I mean, do you know what? I'm going to be talking about that for the next 2 or 3 days to everybody I meet. Be like, but think about this, soul tribe. Yes, that's going to be me. Everybody I meet for the next 2 or 3 days, man.
That's good. We like it. Yes, it also comes from the fact that most of Africa was cut into various tribes, and they were different. You had Mitsilikazi, and you had all the different Zulu tribes and the Xhosa tribes and Sotho.
Oh God! Is this cultural misappropriation now? Because I'm a white guy for slapping that on a hoodie. Is that what it's going to be backlash?
And I'm not a member of the woke brigade.
Twitter going to come for me.
No, you're not.
Don't come from me, Twitter. I've had too much. No, I'm kidding. Right, that's fine. All right, that's fine. Okay.
Say the words you want to say. Use the words you want to use. I think this is what we're all going to die from wokeness.
Do you know what I need to focus on? Actually spelling the words I want to say, right? As opposed to just misspelling everything. I can say words brilliantly. It's when I go to write them down, I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's roll the dice again. It's really bad.
Oh my word. What are you like? It's good.
Sorry, I've been quiet for the first hour and a half of this live stream now.
You were.
All the intrusive thoughts are coming out now. So
That's all right. You can do that. We love you, Ron. We love you, really.
love you
I
back.
think we have actually answered all the questions. At the moment, I can't see any more questions in there. So let's have a look. There was one. No, they've all
The
been
reason
answered.
for this is we may or may not have accidentally had two shows running at the same time on the Sean Atwood channel because of, how do we put this? Administrative errors. Let's go with that. That's the best way of putting it. Due to administrative errors, we did an oopsie. So trust me, this will be the only Beverly Road show that ever exists where we get through all the questions. Okay,
it will be. It's the only one.
I'm telling you that.
It's the only one. Yeah, because usually there's hundreds of questions. So Kazabear is saying, would Bev be able to chat to the Django Lisa Ron? Okay, Ron, this is up to you.
Possibly.
She's asking you, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think. But just email Bev if that's what you're asking. I'll put Bev's website up on the screen for you guys.
Use the because we did all of the Saturday Psychic Live emails today. So if you want to go onto Saturday Psychic Live,
you're gonna have to type it out for me. Do you know every time I go to spell psychic, right? Do you know the ordeal that I go through every time I try psychic and physics? And I'm like, you can do this, Ron. You can do this. But no, it doesn't work. Just before we start winding down, just touch on your book again quickly. Yeah. Because that's the Aztec Death Whistle. That's not your book. There we go.
There it is. Beyond
there we go. So I'll put the link up as well. Just hit everybody again. If they were to go out and grab your book right now, what's going to change in their life? Hit us with the cliff notes.
Yeah, I think really the key thing is the world is changing. We all want to thrive. In order to be able to thrive, we want to get out of survival mode in terms of our lives and our careers. Yeah. If you want to thrive, you're going to have to do the work. It's an inside job. I've given you some key sort of prompts in a journal that you can do in your own time to take you through a process that can get you there, so that as we're moving forward into this new era, in this period of uncertainty, you have something to assist you, a tool, a support mechanism to be able to function, show up in the world with your gifts and be able to really just thrive. I think that's really it. I think we all just want a better quality of life. We want to be doing what we love. We don't know how to get from where we are to that place, right? How do I get from going to my 9-to-5 that I can't stand? Somebody was talking about how they have a 9-to-5, it pays their bills, it pays well, but they want to be somewhere else. But the job where they are is what pays them. How do they get to that place where they want to live at the beach, but they've got this job here? And being able to work out what your gifts are, working out how to pivot in terms of your career, it can help you get there. It doesn't mean that you have to quit your job right now today. You find out what your gifts are, you can keep working on your job, but you harness your gifts, you channel them, you leverage them, you start putting them out into the world, you're getting additional income, you're building something somewhere else, something that you can go in the direction of. I mean, it's a process, right? We're not saying like everybody quit your job right now here today. We're saying, do you want to be on a journey, right, where you're not terrified about what the future holds in terms of how you're going to live, how you're going to make money, how you're going to show up in the world, all of those kind of things. And I really do believe that having something that takes you through that inner work, so you know exactly who you are, right? Picking out what your gifts are, working out how you put them into the world, how you package them, who you can leverage, how, and having some kind of a plan is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the way forward, and also not necessarily finding just one thing. I think today's world is about multitasking and having key number of income streams. So if there's a couple of streams that do really well, selling bits and bobs or doing something on selling things on particular portals, and then doing something else as well on the side, plus working 2 days a week, mix and match it, mix it up, get the energy flowing. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
We did
100%.
actually have feedback. Do you remember we were talking to the 71-year-old lady who was
Yes.
working in, she's just come back to us, and she said that everything that we had said to her resonates with her, and she said, yes, that's a really good idea. So that she said she's learned so much over her career. She's gonna look at it now, put it together, and share all her learnings. So awesome.
Sweet.
We love that.
Sweet.
We love that.
Okay. When you work with crystals like celatites and selenite, is there something I should be wary of? I'm new to all of this crystal stuff.
Well, selenite is lovely, and it'll assist you moving forward. Celestite, I think, depends where you're going to be putting it. Particularly if they're really big pieces, be aware that some of mine are quite small, like this one is really, you can't really see it. There you go. Still can't see it. So it is quite small. No, you can't see it at all. Anyway, it's a double terminated quartz. The bigger they are, the higher the frequency and the energy. So be aware of where you're going to put them. Ideally, don't put them right next to your bed, because you could find that you just get pushed out of body, or that you could end up having all sorts of lucid dreaming and dreamscaping and things like that. So, and then see what resonates with you, and make sure you clean them when you get them, because they might have all sorts of other energies, especially if they've come from a shop, all the energies of people touching them. So clean them, wash them, put them into salt water, leave them for a little while, and then put them onto the windowsill or somewhere in moonlight and sunlight for 24 hours, so that they can clean off all the energies that's been around them. But being with crystals and working with crystals is a journey in itself. You'll find once you've got one or two, it's like tattoos. Once you've got one, you'll just get a whole bunch more. So Random at Large, thank you for the super chat, and enjoy your journey with crystals.
See, listen, when Ron talks about seeing stuff, right? It's not like the people, I can't remember, what's the special word for the people that see spirits all the time? There's a word for it. It's not clairvoyance, is it? Is it clairvoyance? Is that what it is? Clairvoyance?
Yeah, I think it is clear. Yeah, I think it's clairvoyance.
I'm not like a clairvoyant or anything like that at all. So I'll sense more than I see, but I've seen a lot of stuff. But it's not like I could sit down and be like, all right, I'm calling forth the spirit of Steve. Come forward, Steve. Maybe I could actually. I don't know. I've never tried. Actually, maybe
not ideal. Don't don't do that. We don't.
Listen, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen, Bev? Come on.
I can tell you a few stories. Wait until we start this in Eastbourne.
Whatever knowledge is residually trapped in my brain and DNA from the 1,000 lives I've lived, it'll keep me safe. Okay, I have full faith in the historical, because I'm not as smart as I am. I'm not this smart. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's the previous me's that are the smart me's that are unlocking inside my brain. It's great. So yeah, but don't ever try the things you hear I say on these live streams. Like Ron is fully invested in his own ego in the spirit realm. Do not attempt the things I do when you see me on these ghost hunts, anything like that. I am.
Do not try this at home.
I'm a freak of nature in the world of freak of natures. Okay, that's the way I see myself. So please.
Tia Bean is asking us, with the pretty dog in the picture, how would you support those who can't visualize? Ooh, good question. How would
Can I ask a follow-up? When you say you can't visualize, do you mean because you can't focus? Is that what you mean? Are you saying that you can...
Yeah, no, I think what Tia means is in some practices and some methodologies, they like in NLP and things like that, they ask individuals, from what I understand, they ask individuals to create a visual mental picture in NLP. They ask you to create a mental picture of something. And some people, I believe, can't, take that. And they can feel it, but they can't visualize it and create a visual picture of something. I think that's what...
I can totally relate. That was one of the hardest things I've ever learned to do, was clearing my mind and then visualizing, telling my mind, think of a red apple and a red apple to be there, and not for two other voices in my head to be having conversations and thinking of things. It was getting to everything to work in unity, so that if I was to close my eyes and visualize myself on a beach, feeling the water in my toes, all of this, that was like 15 odd, maybe 2 decades of focus. That took. So I can relate to that, because it was a nightmare. But now killing it.
Is that because that you're a neurodiverse individual? Do you think that could possibly maybe be?
Well, it could be the same reason that I can't read a storybook. I can read a textbook, but my brain, I can't. I don't understand how people can be like, oh, I really enjoyed this book. How? What am I missing that I can't sit down and read a book? Right? And then there's the people with the complicated names. If there's a guy with a Russian name, I've got to change his name to like William in the book, because I can't pronounce his name. Right? So for me, there's a lot of differences. When I asked if it was a distraction thing, I found that the noises in my brain were the distractions for me, and trying to collectively pull together now what I understand about myself. I used to just think that I couldn't do it, right? And that everyone struggled with it or whatever, but I found that that's not the case. But for me, it's been very much taking control of myself and actually understanding what it means to be fully aware of yourself, fully understanding yourself, goods, bads, the middle grounds, all of that, accepting it, and then working with it all. Because when you're fighting against it and parts of it aren't acknowledged and parts of it are misunderstood, it's like freaking squabbling children in the back of a car who are bored, going, Mom, my dad, pay me some. It's like that, right? But once you get a better relationship with, Alan, Bria, the two things I talk about all the time, it's good. It's fine. We all work together now. Do you know what I'm saying?
You do. That's good.
Nourishment and,
but sometimes visualization, people that can't visualize, I will give it throw in a side thing here, is sometimes the calcification of the pituitary gland. They don't have that ability to connect to the higher areas, and the gland has become so calcified that they've dumbed themselves from the fluoride in the water and other things. That's it. What do you think about it, Zanele? Is it, if you got an idea of what you could do to support people who can't visualize?
So I would have definitely said it's a combination of both the things that you spoke about. So in situations where I have worked with people and I'm trying to process something that is, they're self-sabotaging in a way, or something, a pattern that keeps coming up that we need to get rid of. And, processing involves a lot of visualization. And when people struggle with that, it usually, so the being able to be still is a huge part of that. And so it's about finding ways to get yourself into that being still space. And it does. It takes a hell of a lot of time, because you have to understand why you're struggling with being able to still your mind and to calm to calm your mind. So I think that work needs to be done, right, around what is the actual reason? What is holding you back from being, Ron did his work, and he completely gets, why he's unable to calm his mind. And then you've got to find a way to deal with it. So I have a very active mind, and what I've learned to do is to put things in a basket or put things away in a cupboard mentally. So if I'm going to do a meditation exercise now and my brain and my mind is just not cooperating, I will then say, okay, I'm opening a cupboard. I'm going to speak to my mind. I'm going to speak to whatever's happening, whoever's there. I'm going to say, can I please put you away just for this exercise? So what are all the thoughts? And then I'll actively take all the thoughts out of my mind. So what are the things that are stressing me? So I'm worried about, marketing for like my business. I'm worried about, I've got to go pick up this, the kid from school, whatever the stuff. So I individually take each thought and I put it away, and I say, I'm not going away forever. I will still deal with you. Can I just have this time to do XYZ. And because you've given yourself permission to put it away in a box or in a basket or in a cupboard or wherever you put it away, you've given yourself permission to put it away, and you've given yourself assurance that you are going to come back and deal with it, right? You're able to actually let the thoughts go and to clear your mind. And what you often find is that actually once you've been able to clear your mind, right, you don't actually want to go back and pick up all that stuff and like you don't ever go back and be like, oh, let me pick up my bundle of trouble and worries and like start sorting through it again.
All over again.
No, you don't. Once you've actually been able to put it down, right? I find
that's
most
the key thing. That's the lesson. Yeah, that's the lesson.
And then I definitely agree with you around calcification, drink clean water, drink fluoride-free toothpaste. You know the story. Like you've got to be really intentional about what you put into your body, and that's not just about fluoride. That's about absolutely everything you put into your body. Your body is the vessel, and it is the home for your soul. You know, you've really got to.
And Tia's just come back to us with Tia with the dog, the black and white doggy, and said, "Thank you, great answers." And she's given us that. That's really lovely. And I think we've come to the end of all of our questions.
I'm trying to imagine me going into my brain 15 years ago and trying to tell my thoughts that they're going in a box, right? As soon as I turn my back in my head to walk away from having that conversation with that thought, it's just going to start playing like a Happy Mondays song in my head on loop to teach me a lesson. Do you know what I'm saying?
The trick, though, is that you're not putting them, you're not like, hey, can't deal with you now. You're saying like a child, right? That like once, mommy, when are we doing whatever? You say, sweetheart, we're going to do it, right? Can I just have 30 minutes to do this one thing, right? And then I'm going to come back and take you. Your thoughts do the same thing. So the trick isn't in the putting them away. The trick is in the telling them that you'll be back to get them. Right. Yeah. Then they're not anxious about being solved right now or worked through right now because you've made the promise and the agreement that you are coming back to get them. Right.
I'm with you.
So that's really where the trick is. And then usually after a particular period of time, you do start like thinking about bits and pieces, but you don't have to think about the whole thing all at once. If you don't, some of the things you'll actually let go of and think, oh, I don't have to go back to that particular thought anyway, right? And the things that are urgent and need to be solved kind of will make their way back into your mind for you to solve. But I think the trick is in the assurance to your mind, right? Because our mind is very tricky. So it's giving, the assurance that I'm just putting you away for a little bit. I will be back to solve this. It's incredibly important. I know it's important that I work this out. Thought, can I put you there? You know what I mean? And not just like, oh, I'm letting go of my thoughts. No, that's absolutely impossible. I have the worst ADHD. It's absolutely impossible. But when I kind of give myself that assurance, the anxiety goes away because I've assured myself and made a promise to myself that I am going to deal with it and I am going to get back to it.
That's it. That's the whole thing. And I think we're sort of at the end of all of our questions, and we've been online now for a while.
Just want to say big shout out to the mods, big shout out to Maggie, big shout out to everyone in the side chat, big shout out to Murph, whichever channel he was. I think he was on my channel. I don't know why you're not modded on my channel, Murph. I'm into mod you on my channel. It was weird seeing you pop up without your wee spanner, but good to see you. Big thanks to Beverly. And I just want to say, everyone who joins us every week, Tuesday night, okay? We are going to be delving into the world of it's cryptids, right? But it's not so much cryptids this week. It's Ron and his blue fairies, okay? Last week, one of our community members noticed a little something flying past my face in one of the live streams, and it's been slowed down and zoomed in on. And it's a little blue fairy, man. I don't care what anybody says, right? So Azria's coming on, because if you missed my off-world DNA results, before I met Azria, before the word fairy was even a thing in my world, really. I've always believed in fairies. And at university, day one of one of my courses, that the lecturer said, hands up if you believe in fairies. I was the only person in that lecture hall who put his hand up. The only person, right? And it's just amazing. Beverly, after the off-world DNA analysis, where fairies were a massive part of my off-world DNA, or the elementals, sorry. Beverly had said, elementals like it when you tell them to make themselves a little bit more known. So I've been doing that, and there's been a lot more acknowledgement of little sounds and things whizzing around, and the little light flashes are much more. But this is a madness, right? So
Good one.
rather than even show any of it, I'm not even going to show any of it. But when we get to Tuesday, we're going to go through all of that. Azria is going to be there, and I think
She's
Beverly
got her pictures, and
Yeah.
there's two other individuals that have sent in some beautiful photographs of what they've seen in various forests, and we have somebody who's bringing along some of the beautiful images in a dark cave. You can actually see the faces in the wall.
Nice.
Of those that are the cave protectors. So there's going to be a very unusual theme for Tuesday. So please come and join us. Thank you all for being here.
I cannot wait. Honestly, I can't wait. Not because the show is partially going to be partially all about me, and I love that, right?
You love that. Yeah, we know.
I do love that. Yeah, I can't lie about it. It's freaking awesome. So Zanele, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing all this information with us and being part of the show tonight. And Beverly, as always, thank you, our in-house Jedi, the one and only Miss Beverly Rhodes. To the mods, to the Sean Atwood channel, to you, the community. Big things coming this week. New podcast starts next Friday. Patrons all open next Friday. And what the hell was the other thing? Discord, yes, that'll be open this Friday as well.
Getting fixed, yes, getting
fixed. It's all good. So thank you. And we'll see you all in the next one. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.